Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to welcome you to tonight's edition of Bible study. This time at 6 o'clock is for those that want to read from Genesis to Revelations. If you haven't done it before, you just want to have a refresher and do it again. That's what we're doing here. We are reading from Genesis to Revelations in chronological order. I am happy to do it with you. I am your spiritual thought leader, Regina L. Stillman, and thank you so much for joining me on tonight. Bishop, one reason to Twitch is here. Good evening, sir. It's always good to have you in the house, and nothing but mad love to you, sir. I appreciate you every time I see you in the house. Now we're going to go straight to the word of the Lord, as we always do. We don't spend a lot of time on this and that and the other. We like to jump right into it. Now, what I'm going to do tonight, if you look, I actually have on the upper portion of the screen, you'll see February the 22nd, pages 215 to 225. That is in the Reese Chronological Bible, which I'm following on tonight. Again, for those that have the Tyndale, there is a little bit of variation there as far as where we are in chapters. The Tyndale is going to have you in Leviticus 17 verses 1 through 16. Prohibitions against eating blood and sexual practices that are forbidden, Leviticus 18 and also Leviticus 17. Holiness in personal conduct, Leviticus 19. That's where you will be if you're in the Tyndale. Tonight I'm going to be in Leviticus, but we're not going to be as far along in Leviticus in the Reese Chronological. We have instructions about offerings, and I'm going to have you go ahead and write these down because I'm not going to necessarily pull a lot of scriptures out verse by verse per se. And again, because some of the material, because I don't like to get into a real what I want to say, triangulated debate, discussion, whatever you want to say about the different laws that are given. Let every man be persuaded in his own mind. But I do want you to have an understanding generally. But my goal here is always every night to get us to a point about understanding how we can apply this in our own personal relationship with God and not necessarily get so enthralled in the specific laws per se. So we want to look at, again, we're on February the 26th. Item number 24 and 25 is what we're going to cover. Instructions about offerings. You'll find that in Leviticus, the 10th chapter, verses 8 through 20. And then you'll also see laws for the people. Item number 25. Food that is clean and unclean meat. Leviticus 11, 1 through 47. Then you have B, motherhood, law concerning cleansing, Leviticus 12 verses 1 through 8. And then item C, which addresses leprosy, Leviticus 13, 1 to 59. I'm going to say those again in case you were not able to write those down and do not know where we are. Instructions about offering are found in Leviticus 10 verses 8 through 20. The laws for the people, A, food, clean and unclean meat, Leviticus 11, 1 through 47. And then we have motherhood, laws of cleansing, Leviticus 12, 1 through 8. And then leprosy, Leviticus 13, 1 through 59. Those are the items that we're going to touch on tonight. So again, there are the scriptures that you can follow. Your assignment is really to already have read those before you come in tonight, for those that are following the outline out there in my Discord. And so I'm highlighting. Now, I want to start with the instructions about offering, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot, I don't think, but I just want to touch on all of the items that we have tonight and bring them into today's perspective as far as personal application, not just reading some verses out of the Bible without having any context and without having any understanding how they can be applied in our daily lives. So I want to start with instructions about offering. One of the overall considerations that you will see God and in the law, there is that mandate and instruction that when you appear before the Lord, you shall not appear before him empty. And so I'm not going to cover all the different types of offerings, all the different types of giving, but I do want to delve into the concept and idea. When you appear before the Lord, you will not appear before him empty. There are several different passages of scripture that address that. And the offering You have free will offering. You have sin offerings. You have meat offerings. You have all those different things, peace offerings, trespass offerings. You have all these offerings that we've been addressing through this period of reading. Now, whatever, and we know that Jesus is basically the ultimate sacrifice so that we are moving outside of the realm. But the concept of bring the Lord's of yourself, of your spirit, of your substance, of your increase. When you come before the Lord, don't appear before him empty. Now, I more so want to deal with this more in the element of relationship. If you've ever been in a relationship where the other party is just absolutely needy and depleted and has nothing to bring all the time. I'm not talking about an occasional low, an occasional dip, an occasional season where something's going on. But if you are in a relationship, and I try to bring examples to you that maybe help to see what God is doing and our relationship with him in a more personable way so you can kind of grasp this. But if you have ever been in a relationship where the person always is empty, broken, has nothing to offer, and you have to do all of the major lifting. Now, God is great enough that, hello, he doesn't get tired. He doesn't get overwhelmed. He doesn't get exhausted. However, I want you to think about this from the standpoint of, how do you think when we come before the Lord, and I'm still on offerings, I'm like, when we come before the Lord, let's not come to him empty. I know that we talk about emptying out as far as things, as far as issues, as far as troubles, as far as concerns, and this and that and the other. Empty that, cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. But I'm talking about when we talk about relationship, what do you bring to the table? I heard the psalmist when he said, "What shall I render unto God for all of his benefits?" And then we had a song that added to that and said, "All that I can offer is my body and soul. That's what I give." So it's like when you come before the Lord, don't come to him empty. And yes, there are going to be seasons and times where things are going on in your life. But I also want to address the idea, put your focus first and foremost. And I said this, I've been saying it repeatedly. Before you ask God to bless you, even in a situation where you need him to intervene or whatever, before you do that, bless God. You bless God instead of you always coming and asking God to bless you and then get up and going about your merry way. Why am I saying that? Because if you bless God, if your focal point is the offering that you're bringing to him for what God and who God is in your life relationally, let that be your first and primary focus before you get into all of your issues, which kind of goes into the ideology. Instead of telling God about all of your mountains, tell your mountains all about your God. Let the mountains know this is the lifter of my head. This is my strong buckler. This is my shield. This is my fortress. And I'm saying that to the extent when you begin to bless God and magnify God for who he is, recognizing his greatness, recognizing his beauty and his splendor. You hear me say a lot of times that scripture, one thing have I desired of the Lord, and that will I seek after, that I might dwell in the house of the Lord, to inquire of the Lord, and to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. Not only am I inquiring in his temple, but before I even inquire, before I ever ask, before I even get into all these other areas, and God, help me and bring me into a place of understanding. I want to behold the beauty of the Lord. I want to behold the beauty of the Lord and just recognize God for the God that God is. You know what I'm saying? I was listening, and those of you that know me know there's certain preachers that I do enjoy. They can be hard to find and far and few between. but I did enjoy several of the teachings of Miles Monroe. One of the things that he talks about in purpose, I touched on this on yesterday. He said there is a verse before Genesis 1 and 1, and that verse before Genesis 1 and 1 is Genesis 0. Before anything was, God was, and but before there was anything else, and that takes us really to the John 1 and 1. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. He predates all of that so that we understand, God, you are the beginning. The beginning came from you. You started the start before the start was the start, okay? So this is that greatness that God is. Let's always have that ability to appreciate God for who he is and all he's done. Everything that I am, everything I hope to be, everything that is about my personage, everything that is about my heart, my mind, my successes, my failures, whatever you want to say, all of that comes from God. But if before I get into all of that about me, if I really get into who God is and come into that, you are the creator of all things. Without you was not anything made that was made, and just begin to bless God where he is. It can orient you. I contend that a lot of times when we say, oh, I'm depleted, I'm empty, I don't have anything, we are disoriented. Hear me what I'm saying. And I know we all have times of trouble. I'm not saying don't deal with your real issues. But even when you deal with your real issues, what is your attitude when you deal with your issues? What's your energy level when you deal with your issues? If we're having that daily relational, if we're having that all day long daily relational, it's kind of hard to get on empty, because there is that now. And I know it happens. I'm not saying it does not, but I'm saying I want us to take a step back and begin to say, where am I? Is there an ability to really have a place in God where, yes, I may not always have, what do I want to say? Everything may not make me happy, but I can still have joy. Everything that's going happy depends on the environment and situations. When I'm talking about, I got outside and somebody had wrecked my car and ran into it while it was parked, and it was tore up, it was destroyed, it was totaled out. I'm not going to be happy about that, but I can have joy that nobody was injured. I can have joy that, hey, I still have a means by which God can give me a replacement for that car. I can have joy in I can have joy just that I'm alive and breathing and here today. I can have joy. I'm not contingent. My life is not contingent on whether or not things are making me happy. But and yes, there is happy. There is happy. I'm not trying to get you into I'm just in the humdrum drudgery of living through the day, and I'm gonna make myself make it through the day. No. I want you to have an idea and an enjoyment. And this is the day that the Lord has made. I'm going to rejoice and be glad in it. That's an offering. Understand what I'm saying? I'm bringing an offering to the Lord. I'm not appearing empty. When you come before the Lord, you will not appear before him empty. Bring the Lord something and bless God and appreciate God, and allow yourself to be consumed with that. Can I put it that way? Be consumed with that. Be consumed with the pleasure. Be consumed with the peace. Be consumed with the joy in the Holy Ghost. And that's why I said sometimes when we come and we get in those states where we say, oh, I'm completely depleted, I ain't got nothing, we're disoriented. And what I'm saying we're disoriented from is we have oriented ourselves to that environment. Whereas instead of orienting ourselves to the environment and what's going on and how we feel like it's affecting us and how we feel like it's impacting us, I can say truly there are times when I have just come out of that intimate time with God and go back out into the situation of life, and stuff happens. And when I tell you I still have peace, I still have calm, I still have right mind and right thinking, because I'm oriented. Because before any of this ever happened, I went in to the place where I could spend time with God and get oriented. In him I live. In him I move. In him I have my being. I'm oriented. Before I get up from here and go, listen, I'm bringing the Lord my offering. I'm bringing the Lord my gift. The fruit of my lips giving thanks to his name. The fruit of my lips blessing him. That's my offering. That's all I can give. God, this is what I render unto you for all your benefits and for all your blessings. And I'm happy to give it. I'm not in a place where I have to give the sacrifice of praise for the spirit of heaviness. And I understand once more and again, those times and places do come, but it shouldn't always be a sacrificial praise, and you shouldn't always have a spirit of heaviness. This is where I'm saying the disorientation happens in our perspective when we've started looking at the circumstance and the situation over bringing God an offering. So that at the end of the day, and listen, I promise you, if you ever find yourself in the situation relationally where you have to do all the heavy lifting and the other person just comes all the time, toe up from the flow up, the love can be there 100%. But listen, there is a deprivation of love. There's a deprivation of opportunity for the other person to have something brought to them. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody, it shouldn't just be a one-sided, I'm always coming laden down and loaded down and head hung down. It should be a two-way street where I can bring you something. God, I want to bring you something that makes you laugh. I want to bring you something. Y'all understand what I'm saying? That's the way our approach can be with God. And when we appear before the Lord, if we shift and get oriented, we do not have to appear before him empty. Sometimes we can just come with a song in our heart. Sometimes we can just come with a simple praise. Sometimes we can come with whatever it might be, but do not appear before the Lord empty. We've all got an offering that we can offer up to the Lord. Then when we come to the laws for the people, food, clean and unclean meat, I want to deal more so here. Now, you know, cloven hooves, anything split and double. Honey, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. There's just something about being split and double. Anything that is a scavenger that eats other dead things, anything that feasts and feeds off of something else that is dead. There were laws against that as far as that being unclean. Anything that still had the blood in it. So these are areas that I want us to look at. When I come and I perceive this from, how can I apply this to my life today? What am I ingesting? What is it that I'm consuming? What is it that I feed on and feast on a daily? Am I eating dead stuff? Come on here. Am I eating some dead carcass that's been laid out here? Am I just scavenging off of something that's already started getting rotten and decayed? Am I finding the flesh of something that's decaying and out here been laying dead for days? Is that what I'm eating on? So spiritual thought leader, what are you talking about? Sometimes when we get out and we begin, listen, gossip, first and foremost, 9 times out of 10 is going to lead you to a bunch of lies, but it will also sometimes be something that it may have been true, in fact. But the point of the matter is you're eating off of carcasses. You're eating off of something that's dead. You're eating off of something that's decaying flesh. You're eating off of something that's putrid. You're eating off of something that's smelly and stinky. You're eating off of something that, you know, you got dead flies. You got flies and gnats and all kind of stuff just swarming and maggots and you're feasting off of that, and that's your food. I want you to understand, this is where I want us to think about, what do I feed myself? What do I, and because that's your nutrition. That is your nourishment. That, you understand what I'm saying? One reason, that is what is supplying you with strength or not. And really, sometimes that's why you don't have an offering to bring to the Lord, because your diet has been dead mess. Your diet has been trash. Your diet has been something that cannot sustain you and cannot keep you nourished. And then you wonder why. Why am I so empty? Why am I so devastated? Why am I so traumatized? Because your diet is lacking. So he said, listen, I don't want you messing with unclean meat. I don't want you messing with stuff that's bloody. I told you about that on yesterday. Even as we come into a place of the kosher meat that they had, and they had to make sure it was drained and that it was prepared in a certain way before they could eat it, but it could not contain any element of blood, because blood being the source of life. We look at that and God is saying, listen, and I said, even after the offerings, we talked about that on yesterday or the day before, sometime this week, and the idea that once that offering has been made, and they come in, and there was a part of it that they used the blood for the sacrifice, but then there was a part of it that they were to eat. And they could not eat anything that had any blood in it, but whatever was bloody, they had to wash it. They had to thoroughly cleanse it. They had to thoroughly purify it. And some of it they just had to burn up. It wasn't even for human consumption. Burn that up. So I want us to understand that all of this, when we start talking about what are we eating? What are we ingesting? What are we putting into our minds? What are we putting into our emotions? What are we putting into our system? You understand, it's not what comes into a man. The Bible said, listen, it's what comes out, because everything in you got to come out. That's what the old folks used to say. Everything in you got to come out. If you garbage in, garbage out. Filth in, filth out. Am I talking to anybody? Dead stuff in and gossip out. You are going to reproduce whatever it is that you're ingesting. So he gives them laws concerning the food and what is clean and what is unclean. Am I talking? Don't talk with a forked tongue. That's hello. All of this that we're getting into areas of how I can present my body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is my reasonable service. When I look at the idea of when I come and the motherhood and the laws of cleansing, again, there was a season and a time, and there were rules and regulations that were given, because, again, blood was a very important element and factor in the things of God. So there were times when women were on their cycle where they had to separate and be apart from others. And obviously during childbirth, that is one of the most bloodiest places you can encounter. And so there were laws that were dealing with purification. And even when you're birthing something, come on here, y'all. Even when you're birthing something, you're bringing something to life. You are producing something. I want you to understand how many times, if you are really honest with yourself, that's a near-death experience, one reason. Near death, they say that's as close to death as you can pretty near get. And if you think about it, yes, I'm birthing something, but I'm also, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I am figuratively or spiritually walking through what feels like the shadow of death. And at the end of the day, no, I don't have to fear any evil, but I do have to cleanse. I do have to clean up. I do have to cut the umbilical. I do have to go through some process, and I do have to separate before listen. Y'all remember when the old Indian movies, they cowboys and Indians, when it was okay to say cowboys and Indians, but I guess I need to maybe say Native Americans. When we had the movies and they would have the squaw would go over by the tree, get off. Now this is the pregnant squaw, get off of the horse, go over and squat by the tree and pop out a papoose. Then get back on the horse and ride off into the wild blue yonder. Y'all don't know nothing about that. But back in the day, back in the cowboy and Indian days, it wasn't nothing but a squat and plop. So, but that's not real life. That's not reality. That's not the way it really happens. As one reason said, it's as near to death as you can get. there has to be that cleaning. There has to be that cleansing and the washing up of the baby and yourself. Come on here. So at the end of the day, because that blood is everywhere. Come on. Blood is everywhere. And the same with the menses. Blood is everywhere. You know, I do not, I promise you, I do not feel any kind of way for having missed the days of when they used all kinds of literal rags and this and that and the other during the menses. Because I'm like, I just can't even imagine. I came on the scene when they were wearing those mattress pads. You might as well went to your bed and got a whole twin mattress because that's what you had. But listen, at the end of the day, whatever we can do to hide the blood, whatever we can do to keep from having it just run all over the place and make an absolute mess. There has always been an issue and an element there that's involved. And this is where I want to come with that, because sometimes, even when we're birthing the thing that God created us to be here on this planet Earth for, sometimes we birth and it near about kills us. Come on. The process and the journey that we go through, the people that we encounter, the situations that we live through, the scenarios that almost take us out and leave us bloody, the things that make it so I can't just jump up and hop back on the horse and ride off into the sunset with my baby. There are some things that made you have to stop for a minute. Cleanse yourself. Come on. When folks start talking about you, when things are not going your way and people that could have helped you worked against you. You all can think about all kinds of scenarios that are relevant to birthing something that God has given you, a vision, an idea. There's always that opposition that is there, and sometimes it will cause you to leave the situation bloody. These are the places where I want you to understand the laws of purification and the time windows that God gave to them before you get up and move out and amongst the people. I need you to have a time of purification, cleansing and purification before you get up and start handling anything. There is a beauty. And that's going to lead me right on into leprosy and that concept. Leprosy affects the skin. Now, you know the skin is the integral system. For those of you that do anatomy and physiology, it's the largest organ of the body. Your skin is the largest organ of your body. And it is called the integral system. So it's the first defense for things not getting in your system. It also is a method of regulating respiration and things that need to get out of your system. You can sweat it out. Your skin is constantly breathing, taking in, releasing, and letting in, letting out. It's serving a purpose. Now, this I love because it's the integral system, and I want to use the leprosy element from the level of integrity. There are times, beloved, where we're going to go through some situations where we've been wounded in our heart, where we've been wounded in our spirits, where we've been hurt, and come on now. This is a place I want us, as we're talking about relationship, I want us to begin to embrace this truthfully and transparently with ourselves. You don't have to go out and announce to the world, but please be true to you. To thine own self be true. There are times when you have to literally stop and say, I have just come through a situation where if I tell the truth and shame the devil, I have developed a disease of leprosy. Now, the thing about leprosy is highly contagious. So there was that time of isolation of putting you completely outside the city, because what we don't want it to do is spread. You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Now, remember, I'm talking about a skin disorder, and the skin is the integral system. Anything that has the ability to get your integrity in a situation where it can be compromised, you are suffering from a state of leprosy leprosy in the spirit. If you understand the analogy that I'm trying to paint for you here, you are dealing with and it can be highly contagious. You don't even have to listen. Sometimes you get somebody that's seriously wounded in their spirit, wounded in their heart, wounded in their mind, wounded in their emotions. They can come in the room and change the whole atmosphere, make the whole atmosphere sick with leprosy without saying a word. It's that leprous condition that comes in and provides an energy that contaminates anything and everything that it comes in contact with. You can have a situation and they'll come in everything. They see it wrong. Everything that you say, you said it wrong. Everything, I don't care. It's going to be wrong. Something's going to be contaminated. And this is a time, listen, when I say once more and again, we've got to be honest with ourselves and be able to say at points in time, my spirit is not right. My heart is not right. I'm not thinking straight. I'm not feeling straight. Come on here. I got a little something that started off a little bit of a lump and now it's grown into a whole massive something. I need to stop and look and say my integrity has been breached by whatever this is. And what do I want you to do? Isolate. Instead of going out amongst the people, which too many times, and when I say isolate, I'm not saying because some of y'all already have an issue of always cutting yourself out, but I'm again talking about a relationship with God. I want you to isolate from the people and find your solace and find your communion with God until you get healed. Now, God may utilize some people, doctors, can I say doctors and aides and coaches to help you along the way. But what I want you to do instead of going out and spreading the disease, instead of going out and passing the leprosy on to others, get yourself healed. Am I talking to anybody? Get yourself together and allow yourself the time, the opportunity, and the moments to just heal. I want to present it even from an idea that what God would have for us most, if we can get, come on, one reason, if we could get to the point where we don't allow things to block us up. It's a terrible thing when your skin gets blocked. If you can't sweat, you got a problem. If your skin cannot respirate, you got a problem. If that ever becomes a situation, you are going to have a problem. Stay lifted. You have to have the freedom to be able to allow your skin respiration, to breathe, to let in, to let out, to release impurities, to take it. We've got to have that free flow. And anytime you get clogged up, anytime you get stopped up, anytime you don't allow and you have allowed that integral system to get backed up and blocked, you will die. Come on here. It will make you sick. Come on. You've got to be able, even as far as oxygen, carbon, you got to be able to oxygenate. You got to be able to get the dioxide out. You got to be able, whatever needs to get out of your system. And this is where I want us to take this concept. And I want to say, listen, when I realized that I am leprous, and the spiritual thought leader has been in a state of leprosy spiritually at times in my life. And the unfortunate thing is I can look back in hindsight and see how damaging I was, not only to myself, but also to the people in my environment. Am I talking to anybody? I can see how that leprosy jumped off of me, how that spirit jumped off of me, how that attitude jumped off of me, how that anger jumped off of me, how that attitude jumped, am I talking to anybody? Jumped off of me and made everybody else sick. When all I had to do, am I talking to anybody? Isolate. Go outside the city. Come on here. Meet with the Lord one-on-one. There is a great physician. Let the doctor do his work. But you see how it leaves a whole wake of havoc in its tracks. You understand what I'm saying? If we just come on, one reason, if we'll just be true to ourselves, and it's not for other people, this is for ourselves. This introspection is about it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my mother, not my father, but it's me, oh Lord, not my sister, not my brother, but it's me, oh Lord. I have leprosy. My integral system has been contaminated. And this leprosy, I'm a leper. Come on, sometimes we just need to come to our own consciousness and come clean and say, cleanse me, Lord. I am leprous. I am a leper. And I promise you, if we did this more, and we will, if we did this more and had more people to do it, we wouldn't have the confusion in the world that we have. We wouldn't have the animosity, the anger, the resentment, the negative energy, the biting and devouring one another, the tearing down. If we would just come before the Lord when we know our integral system has been impaired and it has some way or another been compromised, if we would find more people to just say, I'm a leper. Let me go outside the city and be still for a minute. Hey, don't let me mix with the mixing. Listen, we just want to mingle and tingle. Every chance we get, I'm going to mingle and tingle. Whether we got leprosy or not, I'm going to mingle and tingle. Come on. Am I talking to anybody? And so these are the rules. Come on, one reason. Mingle and tingle, just passing it on, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. If it's not love, don't pass it on. Keep that for yourself. If it's leprous, if it's diseased, if it's jacked up, if it's messed up, if it's disoriented, if it's not thinking right. And sometimes we just, yes, tingle, they mingle and tingle, one reason. Sometimes we just have to stop. Snatch our own selves. We talk about snatching everybody else. Sometimes we have to snatch our own selves and say, you know you're not thinking right. You know you're not thinking right. Reel it in. Reel it in. Come on. We have the opportunity as we look at these passages of scripture to apply it to our daily lives right now. How can I apply this? Y'all not getting ready to go out and talk about, all of these different things. Y'all not going out and killing animals. We're not doing any of that. So what does this mean to me today? And I'm getting ready to close it. Ain't no fish on that hook. Reel it in. I love it, one reason. Ain't no fish on that hook. Reel it in. So when I look at these laws today, instructions about my offering, I'm not going to appear before the Lord empty. I'm not. And again, I'm not talking about monetary stuff. Now, bless God, I believe in giving. I believe in monetary gifts to ministry. I'm not talking against that, but at the same time, that my idea and concept of offering and bringing God a gift and an offering so far transcends that. That doesn't even scratch the surface. But I want to bring the fruit of my lips, giving thanks to his name. I won't appear before him empty. When I look at motherhood and the laws concerning that, I understand that in that bloody place, I got to heal. I've got to heal. I got to wash myself and my baby and cut the umbilical cord, all at the place of birth. Am I talking to anybody? When I look at the food, what's clean and what's unclean, what am I ingesting? And don't be not deceived. Be not deceived. Whatever you eat, that's what you are going to, your health condition is going to be. Hello. I had my family member who passed away early in life. But she, listen, and listen to me real good here, because some of us, we want everything sweet. We want everything sweet. If it's not sweet, I don't want it. We want everything sweet, 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 sweet. But listen, babies, you got to have more than sweet meat. You got to have more than sweet goods. You got to have more than sweet drinks. I remember her as she was going through her body and the diabetic situation that she was in such a terrible way. And she had ended up with kidney disease and some other things. And, we can go a whole lot of places with it. But I remember when she was at one point in her transitioning phase and she was just talking to us. And she said, if I had known all of that Pepsi and Coke, and she just named off a whole list of different items that was her daily consumption, was going to do this to my body, I would have changed this diet a long time ago. And so with that, beloved, I want to say, because it's not always, a lot of times we think it's the things that are so unappealing, the things that are so no, but there are things that are going to taste good to you, babies. It's going to taste good to you. It's going to smell good to you. It's going to look good to you. But I want you to understand, everything in your life cannot be sweets and candy and pop, or your body is going to manifest it with disease. Am I talking to anybody? It cannot be just the sweet. The Lord knows how to give you just enough bitter with the sweet, or give you just a little bit of savory, a little bit. The Lord knows how to balance all of it together. Hot and sour, come on here, one reason. It may not be what your constant preference is, but this is where maturity comes in, because this is where, let me put it a couple of ways, because even as she said, if I had known better, I would have changed these ways a long time ago. But by the time she learned it and changed it, it was too late. The havoc had already been done on her body. Am I talking to anybody? So knowledge is one element that we've got to have. I need the knowledge. Without the knowledge, we perish for lack of knowledge. Get an understanding. And then you have to have that ability. When you know better, you do better. Come on with that one reason. When you know better, you do better. Then you have to have the ability as well, beloved, to be able to mature your palate. We talking about food. We talking about what you ingesting, clean and unclean. You have to mature your palate. If your palate only wants sweet, sweet is tasty. Sweet, it titillates the senses, but you can't live off of just sweet on your taste buds. You have to mature that palate to where, come on, stay lifted. You need some vegetables. You need some things that maybe don't taste sweet and got you salivating. But can I talk about the maturing of your glands, the maturing of your taste buds? As I grew up, as I matured, and my palate developed, am I talking to anybody? And my taste buds advanced. What used to titillate the taste buds, and that's all I wanted, it begins to expand and come to a much more mature palate, to where I can appreciate mixtures and flavors and textures. And some of y'all can't deal with textures. If it's not a certain texture, you can't, we've got all kinds of different, we are sensory oriented people. Yes, we are. But there comes some places and times and areas where we need to mature our palate. Amen. We need to allow ourselves to expand, enlarge your territory. And some, we've cut ourselves down to such a minuscule, isolated palette that by the time we get done, come on, stay lifted. By the time we get done, we've not lived the fullness of life because we've cut it down and shriveled it to such a small window of things. You've missed 99% of the enjoyment and pleasures of life. Why? Because all I wanted was sugary sweets. And then look at how that wreaks havoc on your body. So, and I'm using this as an analogy, beloved. I'm really talking about the spirit realm. But I hope this analogy helps you to see what I'm trying to bring out to you in the spiritual realm. Everything in your life can't be sweets and tasty. There are going to be some things you're going to have to take. And then, God forbid, when we start getting into the leprosy, and I'm leprous, I'm a leper, I may need the medicine that it tastes absolutely horrendous, but it's a medicine. It's a healing. It's a salve. What do I need to be whole? I said this yesterday, and I'll keep saying it over and over again. I equate holy, HOLINESS, holiness to wholeness, WHOLENES. What do I need to be whole? And when I come out before God and stretch out in my relationship with God, what can I offer unto God for all of his benefits? I will not appear before him empty, but the fruit of my lips giving thanks to his name, and doing introspection and checking everything to bring it in, all of my flesh under subjection, all of my, because I want to be the best me that I can present. I want to be healthy. I want to be whole. I want to be wise. I want to be a good steward of this that God has given me, so that I can bless God and let my light shine before men. But I also, I want to giving him the best of me. While I'm saying that, I hear Anita Baker in my head. But that's what I want. I want to give him the best of me. I really do. I don't want to bring a haggard, toe up from the floor up, barely making it, dragging in the house. Here I am. That's not what I want to bring to the Lord. I want to bring him the absolute best. You too, one reason. Come on, Anita, with that sultry voice. And see, this is, you all are just kind of having an opportunity. This is my love affair with the Lord. My love affair isn't just shall we gather at the river. I hear everything in my relationship with the Lord, because I'm giving him the best that I got. And I can, in my own little way, come on, giving you the best that I got, baby. Come on. Exactly one reason. I give him all of that, and he receives it, because that's the kind of relationship that we have. Now, that's what I'm going to cover on tonight. I hope that this has been beneficial to you. I know that I'm coming from, come on, stay lifted. I'm just telling you. And I kid you not. Now, you all are laughing or whatever, but listen, in my private time, just me and the Lord, I just heard just me and you, my private time with the Lord, I give him all of this. I give him praise, I give him worship, and then baby, I give him something he can feel. And we love it. We have a great time. We have a beautiful time. We have a lovely time together. And it's a real relationship. It's not a figment of my imagination. It's a real relationship. And I enjoy I do. I enjoy the relationship that I have with God. And I appreciate God for getting me back on track. Because listen, you can go through some places sometimes in some seasons where you get disoriented. But I praise God for orientation. Come on. I praise God for orientation because He can get you together like nobody else can. Now, coming on back up, and I want to say to all of those that have come in, one reason, the Bishop of Twitch, I appreciate you coming in and chatting with me tonight. It's always a blessing to have you in the room, and I love me some you. DJ Rock and Ron was rocking up in here tonight. I love you, my brother. Thank you, and God bless you. Blessed evening to you as well. So much love and blessings come to you. J Trey 707. There's my girl. I love me some you, and it's always a blessing having you in the house. California. I love you. I love you. I love you. And then stay lifted. She's the lifter of my head. I'm so glad every time I see every last one of your names in here, it just blesses me to no end. I appreciate you for coming and spending some time here with me. This is tonight's Bible study. I hope that, yes, I talk and sing and tell in my heart. Stay lifted. That part. I wish. You still here? Come on here. Come on here, DJ Rock and Ron. I love me some you. I wish that people could have and understand this kind of relationship because too many times I fear that they've been taught something that doesn't allow all of this that we're experiencing and having with God. Come on, J Trey. You know I love me some you. But there's so much more that we can have with God while we out here running after all of these other things and leaving empty, devastated, tore up from the floor up, traumatized. God, I'm telling you, He does not disappoint. God does not disappoint. God does not disappoint when you develop a relationship, when you become relational with God and it becomes real. Not motions, not traditions, not ritualism, but let it get real all the way down in your shando. And I'm telling you, it'll do something to you. It will transform you so that you can't, when you appear before Him, you can't appear before Him empty because you're just full. You're just full. So I appreciate everybody that's here. Thank you for coming. We'll continue on. I will see you tomorrow night. And I want us to continue to pray for truck driver as he's recuperating. That's my brother. That's my Mufasa. That's my friend. So continue to send the prayers up. If he crosses your mind, just continue to lift him in your prayers. God is doing great and mighty things. And I'm looking for miracle signs and wonders to continue for my brother. I love every last one of you that are here. Listen, anytime is the right time to do right. So let's continue on this journey. Let's continue reading the word, growing and developing our spiritual muscle, our spiritual stamina, because we have work to do. We have an assignment and I'm happy to do it. I love you with the love of God. I really, really do. And I want to wish every last one of you a blessed night and peace for your journey.